Howdy folks, and welcome to Mingles with Jingles, episode 59. I wanted to start off this week's Mingles with Jingles with, well, it's not really a question, it's not really a comment, it's more of a quote that somebody posted on a video a week or so back. His name is James WXY, and when I saw what he posted, I laughed my ass off because he's absolutely right. He just described me in one sentence, and it was Jingles. Phenomenal storyteller, first-class strategist, second-class tactician, and third-class aimer. And I can't really argue with any of that. You see, that's the thing. Nobody comes to my channel to watch videos of people driving tanks really, really well, or driving, flying aircraft really, really well. Well, they do, but it's usually not me driving the tank or flying the aircraft. It's from the good, the bad and the ugly, and somebody else is at the controls of the tank. I mean, I have my occasional rare flashes of brilliance, but so does everybody. I do talk a good fight, though. That's the phenomenal storyteller part. So I make no false modesty there. I do tell a good story. First-class strategist, and I know what should be going on during the course of a battle. Second-class tactician. I'm just not that good at actually making it happen. I generally have a pretty good idea of what tanks on the team should be going where and what sort of opposition we are likely to run into when we get there. But actually manoeuvring the tank in combat is it's a different matter entirely. Once we arrive at the location and we run into the enemy team. And then, of course, third-class aimer, and you've all seen my videos. You know what a terrible shot I am. And so, yeah, James WXY with what I thought was one of the shortest, most accurate and funniest summaries of me on YouTube. So thank you for that, James. But the reason I mention it is to do with what I really wanted to talk about this week, and that's putting videos on YouTube. James hit the nail right on the head there. Good storyteller, generally knows what should be happening in a battle, not all that good at actually making it happen himself. And it's all about, I certainly can't argue with that, but it's all about playing to your strengths and minimizing your weaknesses. And one of the questions that I keep getting asked over and over and over again is, Jingles, how can I make my YouTube channel grow? Jingles, I want to put my own videos up on YouTube. Can you give me any tips? Well, I can't do it individually, obviously. There are far too many of you. But what I can do is address the subject in Mingles with Jingles, and that's what I wanted to do today. Everybody's good at something. The trick is figuring out what it is you're good at and then capitalizing on it and just doing lots of what it is that you're good at. Not that you should try to avoid the stuff that you're bad at, but unless the purpose of the video that you're putting up on YouTube is, look how much I suck at this, but watch how I get better at it, then you should probably avoid trying to put lots and lots of video up of stuff that you're not very good at, or doing stuff that you're not very good at in the video. Perfect example, talking at great length about whatever subject. That's something that I am pretty good at. Royal Naval Leadership School actually teaches you this sort of thing. It's part of command and leadership training in the Royal Navy. They will, for example, have a pack of cards with a different topic written on each card. And at various points throughout the leadership course, they will just pull you out of the class, stand you up in front of the room, pick a card out at random and say, talk about that for the next 4 minutes. Off you go. And you look at the card, and the subject is the inside of a tennis ball. Seriously. Stuff like that. It's to train you to lose your fear of speaking in public. Now, it probably won't come as a great surprise to hear that that sort of thing was never a problem for me. I can and often do talk at great length about any subject. But a lot of people speaking in public and putting their voice up on YouTube is a very daunting prospect, particularly if English isn't their first language. Now, obviously, this is really easy for me because I'm not afraid of speaking in public and English is my first language. I don't have to learn other languages because everybody else is taught English. The English are very lazy like that. Most of us just don't speak any other languages because we don't need to. And I do get a lot of messages from non-native English speakers who say exactly this, that they want to start their own YouTube channel. They're excellent World of Tanks players, they're great War Thunder players. They've got the gameplay footage, but they don't have the confidence in their ability to speak English in order to make them into videos and put them up on YouTube. And it's not just non-native English speakers, there are plenty of native English speakers, Americans, Australians, British, who just don't feel comfortable talking into a microphone and putting their voice up in public for people to analyse and criticise. And it's perfectly understandable. But what I wanted to show you is that it's not necessary. You don't have to speak good English in order to make a good YouTube video. You don't even have to speak at all. One of the first YouTube channels that I subscribed to long before I started putting my own videos up, and a hugely influential channel for me, was The Rising Sun, Hi-Fly15, with his World of Tanks tips channel. The Rising Sun is from Denmark, and he had been putting YouTube videos up and running replay contests long before I even considered recording my own games and putting them on YouTube. And he's one of the reasons why I started recording my own games and putting them up on YouTube. This video clip that I'm going to show you is one of his early videos. It's over 2 years old. Now, he does do English language commentary on his videos now. He live streams on Twitch in English. But when he first started putting videos up, he was understandably nervous about speaking English. He wasn't too confident in his ability to speak English. And he hit upon this fantastic formula where he doesn't speak at all, but the videos are fantastic. Take a look at this. This is his very first World of Tanks tips video. It's over 2 years old. It's called Become a Better Scout. And the tips and tactics that he teaches here are still good today. If you're not very good at expressing yourself in spoken English, then don't try. Just concentrate on what you are good at, driving the tank. Watching these videos 2 years ago made me a better World of Tanks player, and he does it all without speaking a single word of English. Well, obviously I'm not going to show you the whole video because that would be a little cheap. It's not my video, but I do recommend you have a look at the World of Tanks tips channel. Even the old videos like this, they're just as relevant today as they were 2 years ago. And they're a fantastic example, particularly his earlier videos, of how, even without speaking a single word of English, you can do some fantastically good, informative, entertaining World of Tanks videos. Or, you can do it in War Thunder as well. The subject matter isn't the issue. It's the presentation. The fact that he doesn't speak a single word of English. The language barrier is not a problem. That being able to speak in public issue is not a problem. He knows what he's good at. He's good at driving tanks, particularly light tanks. And so that's what the video is all about. He knows, at the time, he's good now at speaking in English. Most of his stuff now is done with full English commentary. But at the time, it wasn't his strength, and so he just avoided it completely. It's all about playing to your strengths and minimizing your weaknesses. And these videos are a fantastic example of how to do exactly that. So if you do want to see the rest of this video, and I highly recommend it, the link will be in the video description to the Rising Sun's own YouTube channel, World of Tanks Tips. So all of you Germans and Danes and Norwegians and Swedes and Finns and Hungarians and Romanians and Italians and Frenchmen who keep sending me your World of Tanks replays, by all means keep sending the replays in. You send me some fantastic games, and I'm very happy to be able to show a selection of them, but there's absolutely nothing stopping you from making your own YouTube videos and putting your own channel out there for people to watch and enjoy. Well, there is one thing stopping you, and it's your own lack of self-confidence. Just because English is not your first language is no reason why you cannot do entertaining YouTube videos on World of Tanks, War Thunder, or whatever the hell it is that you're interested in and are good at. It's all down to taking advantage of whatever it is you're good at and just avoiding whatever it is that you're not good at. You might think, but I don't have any video editing software. I started off using Windows Movie Maker. It's completely free. It came with my PC. It gets the job done. You might think, well, okay, I've got the software, but I'm not any good at editing videos. Well, nobody is until they start. Have a look at some of my early videos. Not very professionally edited. In fact, a lot of people could argue that the videos that I put up today are still not very professionally edited, and it hasn't done me any harm. The only thing stopping you is your own lack of self-confidence. Get out there and give it a try. You can't fail if you never try, but you can't succeed if you never try either. I started off doing nothing more complicated than watching a World of Tanks replay with video recording software running and just talking about what was going on the screen. And the format hasn't really changed in over 2 years of putting videos up on YouTube. I'm still pretty much doing exactly the same as I was doing 2 years ago. It's not rocket science, it really isn't. Anybody can do it. And if you do want to take a stab at putting commentary on your videos, but you're nervous about your German accent, or your Romanian accent, or your Norwegian accent, seriously, don't worry about it. We English speakers, we love your accents. Queerbeat2000, another German YouTuber who speaks with a very strong German accent, but I watch his videos just to listen to his voice, in much the same way that a lot of you guys, you're not even watching Mingles with Jingles on a Monday. It's just playing in the background. It's just my voice that you're listening to. You guys out there who aren't English, or not American, not native English speakers, are far, far too nervous about how you sound when you're speaking English. Every time I start talking to somebody from Germany, for example, the very first thing they always say is, "I'm sorry for my bad English." Stop worrying about how you sound. English speakers love your accents. Stop thinking of it as a disadvantage and start treating it as what it is. It's an advantage. It's something that sets you apart from all of the other English-speaking YouTubers out there, the fact that you have a cool and sexy accent. A lot of you guys are a lot better at English than you give yourselves credit for. I'll give you an example. Long before I used voice communications online, back when I was playing Star Wars Galaxies, for example, and we're talking, wow, nearly 10 years ago, there were a lot of guys in my Star Wars Galaxies clan that I had no idea were not English. Their English was so good, their written English, that I was shocked to find out that they were from Sweden, or from Norway, or from Finland, or Germany. In fact, in a lot of the cases, their written English was better than most Englishmen. Your command of English is a lot better than you give yourselves credit for. It's just speaking in English that you're nervous about. And it's understandable, but you really have nothing to worry about. Get out there and try it. I think you will be genuinely surprised with the results. And if at the end of all that I've convinced you to take the plunge, to have a go, and try making your own YouTube videos, then pop over to my Facebook page, link in the video description, and let me know about it. Let me know that your videos are up, and I will do subscriber spotlights on Facebook and highlight your videos for everybody to go and have a look at. You can, of course, keep sending me your replays, and I hope that you do, because I really do enjoy watching your replays. The problem is that I only really get to see a small percentage of the replays that I get sent, and an even smaller percentage of those actually make it into a YouTube video. Of course, the plus side is that if one of your replays does get featured in one of my videos, then anything between 75 and 100,000 people are going to see it. And, you know, for a lot of you out there, then the chance of that happening is good enough. But if you make your own video out of it, then the chance of it going up on YouTube is 100%. And I'll do what I can to ensure that people get to see it. Again, let me know on Facebook, and I will start doing subscriber spotlights of the videos that you put up on YouTube, and see if we can't find another YouTube star. In other news, has anybody been playing the new Wolfenstein game? Wolfenstein: The New Order. I got it the day it came. I actually had it pre-ordered, and I played it for a couple of hours the day it came out on Steam. And then I reached a certain point in the game, and I just thought, I'm not playing this anymore. I just refused to carry on. I wonder if you know the part I'm talking about. I should probably put a spoiler alert up at this point. It's not much of a spoiler. It occurs fairly early on in the game. It's still in the Second World War part of the game before it moves forward to the modern day. There's a part in the game where your paratroop squad has been captured by the evil Nazi bad guy and his mechanically, genetically enhanced super soldiers. There's a bunch of these Nazi super soldiers are pinning you and your two squad mates down to the ground, and the evil Nazi bad guy is going to harvest one of you for parts, and he makes you choose which of your buddies is going to live and which one is going to die. It's the old Sophie's Choice thing. And he will wait quite patiently for you to pick who's going to live and who's going to die, and if you don't make a choice, after about a minute, he just has all three of you killed. And I just refused to make the choice. And so, of course, it's game over from that point on. The game will not continue from that point unless you pick which of your friends is going to die. And I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. I found it really distasteful. And I appreciate that this is just storytelling. id Software are not setting out to try and turn me into a monster or anything. It's just storytelling. They're just making the point that the bad guy is a real bastard. I get that, but I still didn't want to have anything to do with it. I still found it really, really distasteful. And it made me stop and think about what games will and will not make you do. There was an infamous quest in World of Warcraft's Wrath of the Lich King expansion where you had to torture a non-player character for information. And it was made clear to you that you weren't actually doing any physical harm whatsoever to this guy, but he was feeling a lot of pain the more that you repeated the quest option to him to get the information out of him. And a lot of people got very upset about this. You were basically torturing a guy for information. And I did feel vaguely dirty while I was doing the quest. I still did the quest. It didn't stop me from doing it. But I didn't quite feel right when I was actually taking part in it. Another example in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. One of the Modern Warfare games is the infamous No Russian quest, mission, whatever you want to call it. The part where you're an American Special Forces operative inserted into a Russian terrorist cell, and you step out of the elevator in Moscow International Airport with a bunch of automatic weapons and just start machine gunning all of the civilians. You're just murdering innocents. It's an infamous mission. In fact, you even had the option of playing the game without playing that mission. They realised that it was going to be controversial. I didn't have a problem butchering civilians in that mission, and yet I would not, just point blank refused, to choose which of my friends, and I call them friends, but I had no idea who they were. I couldn't even tell you the names of the characters in Wolfenstein, The New Order. I just refused to make that choice. The game said, yeah, make that choice or it's game over. You won't be able to play the rest of the game. And I was fine, I'm happy with not playing the rest of the game then. I don't want to make that choice. I do not want to be that person. And yet at the same time, I was quite happy. Well, not quite happy, but I went ahead and did it. Tortured an NPC in World of Warcraft for, just to get a quest complete. And quite without any compunction whatsoever, machine gunned countless civilians in Moscow International Airport in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. What does that say about me? In fact, do you know what the only difference was? At the end of the day, the reason why I went ahead with torturing an NPC in World of Warcraft was because I wanted to get the quest complete. I wanted the experience. I wanted the quest rewards. I wanted to continue the quest chain. The reason why I went ahead with the No Russian mission in Call of Duty Modern Warfare was because I was enjoying playing the game. I thought it was the single player campaign. I really enjoyed the story. I wasn't actually having a lot of fun playing Wolfenstein: The New Order. It's not a bad game, and I know a lot of people think it's great, but I just wasn't seeing anything that I hadn't seen countless times before. And at that point where it said, okay, now do something despicable, I just wasn't invested in the game enough. The game just hadn't grabbed my attention enough up to that point to make me care whether I was able to continue playing or not. And that is literally the only reason why why I cared little enough about the consequences of refusing to make the choice. I didn't want to torture the NPC in World of Warcraft. It made me feel uncomfortable. I went ahead and did it anyway because I wanted to complete the quest chain. I did feel bad machine gunning civilians in Moscow International Airport in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, but I went ahead and did it anyway because I was enjoying the rest of the story and I wanted to see how it ended. I didn't give enough of a shit about how Wolfenstein: The New Order panned out. And so it's easy for me to sit here and say, yes, I refuse to make that choice because I'm a good person, but that's not the real reason why. I just didn't give enough of a shit about how the game ended to carry on past that point. This might make me a bad person. But there must have been other games out there. What games have you guys played that have put you in that sort of position and forced you to make a morally dubious choice? And did you go ahead and make that choice or not? Or if you've played the same games that I have and have run into exactly the same situations, the one in World of Warcraft, the one in Modern Warfare 2, how did it make you feel? Answers in the comments below. I'm curious to see what your take on this subject is. At this point in Mingles with Jingles, I need to give a shout out. This is to Fart Slayer. I love this name, by the way. Fart Slayer 22. He is going for his Eagle Rank badge in the Boy Scouts of America. And part of that process is he has to interview somebody. And so over the last couple of weeks, he's been conducting an interview with me over email. I've been helping him get his Eagle Scout badge. Of course, in order to prove that he didn't just make all this shit up, I need to give him a shout out. And I'm doing it here in Mingles with Jingles just to prove that, yes, Fartslayer22, which I hope is not his real name, he did actually interview me for his Eagle Rank badge in the Boy Scouts of America, and he's not making it up. It's for real. This is what I do. So yeah, shout out there to Fartslayer22. Hopefully, explaining to your Scoutmaster why you're called Fartslayer22 on the World of Tanks North American forums isn't going to be too much of a problem for you. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that conversation. You can just picture him. Let's say his name's Robert. I don't know what his real name is. Robert, so you've completed the interview section for your communications badge towards your Eagle rank. Oh, yes, Mr. Scoutmaster, yes. Here's the interview. Oh, right, so you're interviewing this Jingles person. He's a YouTube personality, is he? Oh, yes, Mr. Scoutmaster, yes. And who's this Fart Slayer 22 person? Good luck with that. You see, that's the thing when you choose your World of Tanks username. Choose the name in haste, repent at leisure. Well, anyway, moving along swiftly. Also in the news this week, Star Citizen's dogfighting module finally came out. It was only a little bit late. Of course, they're not calling it the dogfighting module anymore. Now it's got a snazzy new name. It's Arena Commander. And I put a first impressions video up. I have, by the way, found my joystick now, so I will be having a go with a joystick. And at some point over the course of the next week, I'm putting another Arena Commander Star Citizen video up, this time trying to fly with a joystick and get a bit better at it. However, I knew that the second I uploaded the video, I knew that the comments were going to just degenerate into a massive bitch fight over what was best, Star Citizen or Elite Dangerous. And it's so predictable. You always get this. Anytime there are two games on the market that are vaguely similar to each other, you've always got people saying one's better than the other. And it's particularly annoying in the case of games like World of Tanks and War Thunder, because they're only vaguely similar. It's not a case of one's better than the other. They're both just different. Whether you like one more than the other, well, definitely, that you can say, but you can't say one's better than the other because they both approach their subject matter in completely different ways. And yet people always say, oh, this sucks, this rules. It's like listening to people argue over which is their favourite pop band. Back in the 80s in Britain, if you liked Duran Duran, you weren't allowed to like Spandau Ballet. In the 90s, if you liked Oasis, you weren't allowed to like Blur. It's very tribal. And it's getting like that with games like War Thunder and World of Tanks and Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous. And the more I read the comments of, well, it's not just on the Arena Commander video. You pick any video where, any World of Tanks video I put up, somebody's always there saying World of Tanks sucks, War Thunder's better. Any War Thunder video I put up, somebody's always there saying War Thunder sucks, World of Tanks is better, and so on and so on and so on. And it reminded me of my last job in the Royal Navy was, somehow I managed to make this into a Navy story. My last job in the Royal Navy before I retired, I was working at a place called the AIB. It's the Admiralty Interview Board. Anybody who wants to join the Royal Navy, the Royal Marines or the Royal Naval Reserve as an officer first has to go through a 2-day assessment at the AIB. And I was one of the assessment staff. My primary responsibility was organising the gymnasium side of the assessment, practical leadership tests that we had them do. One of the guys I worked with was a young guy. Obviously, I was just getting ready to leave the Navy. He hadn't been in the Navy for very long. This was one of his first jobs. His nickname was Tex. Now, I liked Tex. He was a good kid, but he was not the sharpest tool in the box, right? He was not particularly bright. Doesn't make him a bad person, but, he was never going to win the Nobel Prize for physics. And I used to have endless, hilarious conversations with Tex because he just could not get his head around the concept that something could be bad and you were still allowed to like it. In his mind, if he liked something, it had to be good. If he didn't like something, it had to be bad. He just did not understand the concept that I would like something while recognizing that it was terrible. As an example of the sort of thing I'm talking about, I got myself a Kindle Fire recently, and I also have an Amazon Prime membership. Obviously, I order a lot of things from Amazon, DVDs, videos, statues, all that sort of thing. With Amazon Prime, you get free postage in the UK, and if you have a Kindle Fire as well, then you get free videos. It's kind of like having Netflix, but on a Kindle. And one of the movies that I watched on my Kindle was... It was called it was called Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl. And it is exactly as bad as it sounds. It's a Japanese movie. And I think it must have cost all of $5 to make. It's so incredibly bad. Look it up on imdb.com. Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl. I loved it. It was so bad, it was fantastic. And that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. My mate Eddie, my faithful but incompetent camera minion, is an absolute connoisseur of terrible movies. He has the most amazing collection of DVDs of shitty B-movies that went straight to video. Movies that are so bad Bruce Campbell would be embarrassed to appear in them. And he loves every single one of them. Some of them are so bad even I can't watch them. But you know, Eddie just loves watching these really shitty movies. The thing is, he knows they're shitty movies. That's why he likes watching them. They're so awful, they're amusing. He's not trying to say that these are good movies. He and I both know that there is absolutely no redeeming artistic content in any of these really shitty B movies. But that's why we like them. We're not trying to say they're good. We know they're terrible. That's what's so good about them. Tex just could not understand this concept. And as an example of the sort of conversations that I would have with Tex about this subject, the reverse is also true. You know, I can recognise that something is good, but not like it. Robbie Williams was the conversation that we would have. Robbie Williams, you may or may not have heard of him, British pop star. I don't think he's got a particularly good voice. He doesn't have a bad voice, but I do recognise that he's a very, very good entertainer, even though I just don't like the stuff that he does. But that doesn't mean he's bad, it just means I don't like him. Tex just couldn't understand this whole argument. Well, but you just said he was good. Yeah. So why don't you like him? Because it's not my style of music. But you said he was good. Yeah. So why don't you like him? Tex, we've already gone over this. His brain was just not wired in a way that allowed him to understand that I could recognise something was good and not like it, in the same way that I could recognise something was bad and like it. He just didn't understand. Celine Dion is another example, while we're on the subject of singers. Celine Dion has a fantastic voice. She is an incredibly talented singer. Whether you like her music or not is a completely different matter. But you cannot say that Celine Dion is not a good singer. Tex could say that Celine Dion wasn't a good singer. He didn't like her songs, so she wasn't a good singer. Tex, no, it doesn't work. Oh, God. And I just gave up trying to argue with him. And I feel that this is the same sort of thing that's going on. Eventually I'll get to the point. With World of Tanks and War Thunder. You've got people who have decided they don't like War Thunder. And so War Thunder's a bad game. And when it's not, it's a good game. You just don't like it. And vice versa with World of Tanks. And this is the sort of thing that's going on in the comments of the videos. You know, guys, it's perfectly alright for you to not like World of Tanks, or War Thunder, or Elite Dangerous, or Star Citizen, or hell, even World of Warplanes, whatever. But the act of you not liking it is not what makes it a bad game, right? There may very well be things about those games that you think are bad, and that might very well be true, but not everybody is going to think they're bad things. You simply not liking the game is not enough for the game to be written off as a bad game. Do try to remember this when you're posting comments on YouTube videos, please. Oh, Tex, I do miss you. Things were so much more simple with Tex around. And that, unfortunately, is it for this week's Mingles with Jingles. I hope you've been entertained by my random stream of consciousness this week. I've certainly had a lot of fun doing this week's Mingles with Jingles. And as always, I'll catch you same time next week. Take care on that battlefield. Watch your six. And I'll catch you next time.